Welcome to our group meeting for container security. It's been a while since we've had this. Noticed, Alexander, the list of things for you to demo has just been slowly growing over time.
That's right. We have been doing things on the front end. It's most of it's been behind feature flags, such as the operational vulnerabilities tab. I don't think we demoed that in one of these, or I like pointed it out, or the cluster agent vulnerability list that was behind feature flag and got released. And so I don't add it to the demo section because I'm like, oh, you can't really get there. It's, it's not as cool, but both of those are finally released, which is great. We've also been working on improvements for the policy drawer as part of the follow-up to the policy page design changes. That's been great. We've just been doing a lot of cleanup lately. But Savash is going ahead with the policy creation wizard. He's got a few MRs up with that, so hopefully that will be dropping soon. And he's been making some design changes as well. So the last small changes lately, but quite a few of them.
Awesome. Yeah, great work. I know we had a bunch of really small ones in that follow-on improvements work, and we'll know one of them, like in and of itself, is totally groundbreaking, but collectively they're going to help really improve the overall user experience for that page, which is great because we already have been getting a lot of visitors to that page, and I'm sure we're going to get a whole lot more here now that we've got scan result policies in the mix too.
Would you care to share some of the metrics of how many people are visiting the page, or maybe later?
Those are on our internal SciSense dashboard. I can drop that into our Slack channel. I think I've shared it a couple times before, but I don't mind sharing it again. It is kind of a policies. I will just say, like, on the note of metrics for that page, it would be nice to eventually actually implement some service ping usage metrics instead of just relying on the snowplow data. The snowplow data gives us URL visits, but for things like policies, it's actually a bit misleading, because if you do policies right, it should be something that people go in and set it and forget it and never ever come back. So what we actually saw was a huge spike when we first released it, and it's gradually been trickling down in usage per month after that, which again, that actually is what we would expect to see. But to get some of the more advanced measurements of like things that would actually be more useful, like the number of projects using at least one policy, or the total number of policies that have been created, or the number of namespaces using policies, like those are the kind of metrics that we want to see go up over time. So I would like to add in some better tracking for that, but where this is such a new feature, we have so many things that we need to add in feature functionality wise. Adding in metrics is just really hard to prioritize compared to making it more usable for our users right now. So we'll get to that eventually. We're just not quite there yet.
Cool, thank you.
And yeah, enable policies versus disable, all of that would be good data to have. We don't get that. If it's not in the URL, we don't get it. At least not right now. So yeah, I've got a few items for planning breakdown. I think most of all 4 of these we've handled async, but I just wanted to talk through them in case we have questions. The first one is I volunteered our group to add UBI-based image support for a bunch of the other secure scanners. We need to do this as part of our efforts to become FIPS compliant. And FIPS, like, just adding UBI image support is really step 1 towards FIPS compliance. There are a bunch of other things we still have to do afterwards, but this will at least get that first step out of the way and allow us to move on to all of the other steps that have to be done. We did this already for container scanning. And so rather than have a whole bunch of different teams devote an engineer to come up to speed on all of this and make it happen, there's just like a lot of ramp up time. We figured it would be much more efficient if we just had one group go and do it for everybody. So that's why we're helping out with some of the other scanners across Secure. Are there any questions about that one?
We don't have to do anything, right? We already, well, cluster image scanning does not have a UBI image right now. So we will probably have to create one for that.
At some point, yes. So for this effort, we're not doing all of the images for all of Secure because that's a huge list, especially like SAST has, I don't even know, like 17 different analyzers. All in, there's probably like 30 images that we maintain across all of Secure. So we have a short list here. Container scanning we already did, but our team is going to go do it for these other analyzers. And again, it's a short list, so it's 8 additional ones.
All right. So I have something that's tangentially related. Wayne posted in the section Slack last week about reducing the sizes of images, and he linked to this tool called Docker Slim. And I tried using it on some of our images. I used it on our regular production image, and it reduced the size from 500 megabytes to 50 megabytes.
Wow. And it still
might have actually been, I think it was actually 20 something megabytes. So more than, that's like less than 10% of the size of the image that we're using in production right now. So, I mean, I have not been able to run tests against that image yet because I'm having trouble getting Docker Slim to work on CI. But if we are able to use that, then we could reduce the image size by like 95%. It's pretty crazy.
So that would be huge, and that would quickly become a top priority for us if that works, because we pay by the megabyte or by the gigabyte for data transfer costs. Anything that comes out of Google Cloud, we pay for. And the Docker containers that are transferred as part of our secure images, I mean, it's a significant cost to GitLab for all of this. And so, yeah, if we can cut that down by 90%, that would be huge. We would definitely prioritize that work. I mean, that would be like a significant cost savings to GitLab if we were able to do that.
Yeah, I considered also trying to change the images to Alpine. They're using Debian right now. But I mean, if we can use Docker Slim and get a 25 megabyte image with Debian, that would be a lot easier than trying to rewrite the whole Docker file to use Alpine.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I will open a Spike and we'll want to prioritize that soon, because if that works, like I said, then that's going to be something that we're going to want to do right away for all of our scanners.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for volunteering to create the issue.
All right, are there any other questions, or are we ready to move that epic though related to UBI-based image support? Are we ready to move that to refinement? I mean, we already did this for container scanning. It's basically just going to do the same thing for all of the other ones. Okay, I will move that on to refinement. The next one is move container scanning to free. We are tentatively planning to align this with the 15.0 release. This one is a little bit different from a lot of the other things that we do, just because it has an impact on marketing and sales and everything else. And so we have to coordinate the engineering effort with all of the rest of our communications throughout the company. But ideally, we'll have this one land in the 15.0 release. This one, actually, we got this one approved back in November of 2020, and it's just been sitting there waiting to make its way up to the top of our backlog. But it's finally almost there, so I'm hoping to see that actually go through. There are a couple of nuanced questions that I was discussing with Sashi asynchronously. Sashi, yeah. Just trying to pull this up real quick. So I know, like, if we look at the MRs to move SAST and secret detection down to free, it was pretty simple for them because they didn't have any functionality in the analyzer itself that they wanted to keep in Ultimate. For us, I think we have at least some functionality in the analyzer that we'd want to keep in Ultimate, like generating solutions for vulnerabilities. And we also want to differentiate between the two as far as which advisory database we pull in to augment the results. So I posted the question in that epic back to Sashi, but I'd be open to, if anybody else has any ideas there too on how we can handle that from a code perspective, that would be great, just because it might be a little bit more tricky for us compared to like secret detection or SAST.
What parts of the UI are we moving to the free tier with this?
So this will be the same as secret detection and SAST. Basically, the only thing they get in the UI is the ability to download the JSON artifact file. So from your perspective, Alexander, you have zero work to do on this epic because we're not moving like any of the other UI that we've built. So their experience is just that they go in, they run the job, it produces the JSON artifact, and they can download it.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying.
Yep. All right. Well, if we don't have answers today, that's fine. If you have a chance, maybe take a look at that and see, it's just a little bit tricky because we want to license the code with an open source license, but then we have like this small subset of code that we want to preserve as proprietary, or at least the bit that pulls in the proprietary database at a bare minimum. So I'm hoping to avoid creating two totally separate repositories. It seems like that would be a bit of a pain to manage. But I suppose that probably would solve the problem, but maybe there's some more elegant solution we can come up with.
The database is technically not proprietary. It's open source, but it's licensed under EE.
So we have two databases, right? The advisory database, and that one we've open sourced for everybody, but that one has a 1 month time delay. And then we have the gymnasium database, which the database is public code, but to use it, like, we reserve the rights around it. So it is a proprietary database in the sense that you're not allowed to use it without a paid license for GitLab. And then these last two, these mostly are related to Zamir, and I comment on his questions asynchronously. So we can kind of skip through these, but just for awareness, so you know what he's working on. He just barely got done doing scan result policies as well as the rule editor. The next thing is to show that in the MR approval settings area. So where you go to set up your other MR approvals, it'd be really nice to see the scan result policies there in that same place so that you can see everything that's required for approval for an MR while you're setting that up. Anyway, so take a look at that if you have a chance. There's a mock there that he'll be building out. And then the next one after that for him is adding support for external scanners to security approval policies. This is kind of a small iteration right now. We have that drop down. You can pick all, or you can pick like SAST, DAST. You can pick which of our scanners you want to choose. And this would be like just an external option added into that list with a text box that you could type in the name of your scanner if you're using something external to GitLab. And that's everything I had for today. Are there any other questions, comments or items to discuss?
I think Alexander's cat wants to speak.
He says send him food.
All right, well, thanks everyone. Have a good week.
Bye, friends.